Improving Instructions Through Brief Interviews. This article is by Donald Peck, Stanley, Jencks, and Michael Connell, written in 1989 by 3 math teachers. The article starts with an example of a student that does this fraction subtraction question correctly on a test, but then when asked to explain whether 1/2 is larger, when asked to compare 1/2 to 3/6, incorrectly says that 1/2 is larger than 3/6. So someone that can do pretty tricky math procedurally, but does not have understanding. They go on to show another student who was able to explain their understanding through modeling of fractions as such. And they use these 2 examples to point to something that I think a lot of us math teachers see, which is students that can get questions right, but don't understand the concept. And it can be really frustrating to try to get accurate assessments for these students and to get them to focus on learning these concepts, because the argument is, well, I got the question right, I'm good. So the strategy that the authors suggest is something called an interview, brief interview. And so the kids write the test, pen and paper, just like they normally would, but afterwards you sit and discuss a question or 2 with the student before they know whether their answer is right or wrong, and you ask them how they know, and then they have to explain their understanding. So they did that with a division question, just a standard long division, 1,002 divided by 13, and they asked students to explain why they got their answer. And based on those explanations, they split their kids up into 4 different groups. The first one was people that understand both the process and the concept. The second is people that only understand the process. The third is people that understand just the concept but not the process. And then the last is people that don't understand either. And so in doing that, they were able to figure out, okay, which students are getting the question right but don't understand the concept, which students are getting the question wrong but do understand the concept, and what can we do teaching-wise to focus on the right things for the right kids. So this paper suggests grouping, but what was interesting about the grouping is that although you have 4 groups in the end, you actually end up having 2 groups, because the people that understand the concept work together. So those ones that understand the process and the concept work with the kids that understand just the concept but not the process. And then the ones that don't get the concept work together. And so in that way, you're only splitting into 2 groups. I thought that this was going to be more of a study, like a classic, large group study. And it wasn't. It was, I think it was based just on these guys' classrooms. And they didn't really understand, or they didn't really explain, how big the groupings were, whether it was double blind, any of those kind of research methods parts. But a huge strength was how clearly described this was. And I'm really inspired to start using these interviews even more so to get more of an understanding of what conceptually my students understand. Some things I already do that I think work well are whenever we're going through questions, whether it's a testing environment or just a day-to-day work environment, I'm always asking them to explain their thinking and really dig deep into why they're answering what they're answering. I also model explaining my thinking as much as I can so that I can give them the language and the tools to actually be able to explain it. I value the mathematical thinking and communication at least equally, if not more, than your correct answer. But one thing that I think I could do more is more formally, like, okay, this period, I'm going to interview every one of my kids and I'm going to write down what group I think they're in. An idea I have moving forward is to, when we've finished introducing or teaching all the concepts this year, it's going to be just May. So we're going to have May and June at least, maybe April, May and June, to come back to some concepts, and that I think would be the time to group the kids based on whether or not they understand the concept, and then kind of work backwards from there. So really neat article. I think I'm going to make a couple copies of it and share it with some colleagues, and it was fun to do a 5-minute overview. Have a good day.